Donna.
I'm back.
Oh, okay. Abby, we're going to be talking about life cycle events. Do you have anything you want to share with us?
Yes, I do. Our youngest son was married May 1st in Texas by a very nice rabbi. Our son, the wife, the family, his wife's family was actually from Honduras and very Christian, but they decided that it would be okay if a rabbi married them. And when I spoke to their pastor, the pastor had lived in Israel 10 years, and he was the one who thought it was just going to be a wonderful thing to have. And it was a very nice ceremony. And it was in the backyard. It was like an old-fashioned wedding. Kids were running around having fun. No loud music. It was just a very nice affair. And so our youngest is married.
Well, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
Thank you, guys.
You know, Abby, that they now actually sell at B'nai Mitzvah receptions microphones that the music at the reception only goes through the headphones.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
the people who are sitting and don't want to hear the dance music don't. And the people who, for whatever reason, do want to hear the dance music, they can hear it. So, that's good. Also, I would like you, Abby, to introduce Sharon.
Where is Sharon?
Sharon is under her name right there where it says.
Where? I don't see you.
Hi, Abby.
Oh,
the name.
Okay. Sharon's not showing her face, her beautiful face. Well, anyhow, Sharon is you want me to tell you? Sharon's a psychiatrist who's now doing, looking at evaluations. She's was a member or is a member of Sinai Temple. She's one of my favorite people. She knows a lot about Judaism. And I told her about this wonderful class. And Sharon and I have been also in a class, and I don't know if any of you are interested in. It's a lay-led class by two doctors and a rabbi. We read the whole Old Testament, and it takes about 7 years. And I've been in the class, I don't know how many years. Sharon, you can tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay, Sharon, so welcome to our little community. And we're delighted to have you. And since you're a psychiatrist, I'd like to express my sympathy at the passing this week of Sigmund Freud's granddaughter. So,
right,
really?
That's correct.
hello.
Abby is correct, except that I retired completely in February. So now I'm reaching out to do new things. I have to leave early today, so I don't want anybody to take it personally, but because Abby thought this was such a wonderful group, I wanted to at least come for the beginning, and then I'll try to join you later for the complete time. So thank you.
Super. So you are absolutely welcome. It's great. Let's take, if there's a brief comment, Effie, then I'm going to go to work. Effie? I don't hear you, Effie. Effie, I don't hear you, which is good. I mean, bad.
Now you can. Do I have to leave? I don't want to get analyzed by a psychiatrist.
Okay, fine. Thank you for that. Okay, and the answer, based on your question, probably yes. Okay, so Baruch Atah
Adonai.
Eloheinu This evening is Erev Shavuot. This is Erev Shavuot. Shavuot, celebrating the giving of Torah at Sinai, will be observed all day Sunday, and in conservative Orthodox settings in this country on Monday as well. You can check with the bulletin from Wilshire Boulevard about Yizkor, which is going to be offered. I would like to tell you that a few weeks ago, I was invited to be one of the presenters on a major program entitled 10 for 10. 10 of us were invited to be the program for Wilshire Boulevard. Each one of us would take a commandment. Hi, Cindy, that is a great picture. Cindy, if you could remove your face, we can just see the beautiful, that's better. Okay, thank you. Hi. But instead of that, now instead of 10 for 10, we're now going to do 10 for 5. So my time has been cut in half. Mona would certainly sympathize or empathize or something. But in any event, starting at 7:45 tonight, 10 brilliant teachers from Wilshire Boulevard will each present on a commandment. And out of the spirit of the times, I'm presenting on murder. I usually take contrarian positions, so you may hear me be in favor. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. 7:45 tonight, it'll last an hour. Then, if you're really up to it, at midnight, please step outside and observe the heavens, because midnight, Erev Shavuot, the heavens open, the angels are there, and they get ready for celebrating Matan Torah, the giving of Torah. Let me know if it works. Okay, that's fine. So that's 7:45 tonight. A number of years ago, came up with a totally brilliant, at least in my eyes, statement, which I no longer really understand. We Jews study Torah so as to understand our role in the dialogic evolution of Judaism. I don't even know what that means anymore, but I found it in my notes and I said it and I stand by it. Whatever. I do have a quote from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. If Israel had been short even one person at Sinai, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, would not have revealed itself on Mount Sinai. As it is written, on the third day, God will come down in the sight of all the people on Mount Sinai. And that is a really important statement for what it is that we do and who we are. All of Torah depends on each and every one of us being present. I'm not going to go into the therapeutics of what it means to be present, but I think you know, being present to Torah is that which will secure the Jewish people's future. And on this Erev Shavuot, it's still Shabbos, but you know, Erev Shavuot, thank you for being part of the group that is present to the study of Torah. I think that's incredibly important. A couple of other things before we check in. Wednesday, June 8th, noon is my current events class. And once again, I want to assure you that there's a lot going on. Wednesday, June 8th, current events. Apparently, I've not received final approval or whatever on this. Apparently, Friday, June 10th at noon, I am doing the noon Torah teaching at Wilshire. So noon on Zoom, and I promise you it will not be the same thing. I will invent new things to say that I won't repeat myself. Friday, June 10th at noon, I do the Torah teaching for Wilshire. I didn't see Jim Ruxin. I don't see Jim here. I see Cindy. Cindy, anything happening that you want to share with us regarding the women?
We're just in the figuring out stage because Irmis is going to be too crowded for us to use during the year, and we can't use the Brentwood campus. We are going to have our meetings at Irmis over the summer, and then we're rotating homes, including Risa Davids' home. the community center.
Oh, I'm glad you have offered. I remember doing that. Yeah,
Risa, not Stan Davids.
I got it. I got it. Okay.
And Rabbi, if you look at my Facebook, you'll see the advantage of sending kids to Jewish preschools. You'll see something that'll warm your heart.
It'll warm my heart. I love having my heart warmed. That's beautiful. First of all, I can't stop looking at her, so that's a problem. But okay, I will.
Jim's next movie is Life of Pi.
Ah, that is correct. Thank you. Life of Pi is the next one coming up. I saw that film. I read the book. It is fabulous. It is fabulous. Okay. I was a little bit tricked by the way the book sort of came to its conclusion. I didn't exactly expect what happened, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a great read. It was a great read. So Life of Pi, Jim Ruxin's movie program. Checking in. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay. Donna, what would you like to say?
I'd like to ask you about the 10 for 5. You're speaking, is that going to be live streamed or it's on a network or like?
It's going to be on Zoom. It's on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And what time?
7:45.
I thought you said.
Right.
Hannah just posted the link to register on the comment section.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
I
you, Doc.
feel like there's someone hovering behind my shoulder. You know, like
An angel.
if you say something, Hannah gets it up. Okay, that's fine. It's kind of scary. Okay, thank you. Any other checking in, things going on in your lives? Anything at all going on?
Next week, we have Gabby, our older granddaughter's professional tap dance show.
Okay, Merle,
It's an international tap group.
please raise your hand electronically. Okay, so, okay, yes, Merle, what would you like to say? Oh, no.
I said it.
Okay, so the International Dance Show is going to be where?
Next Sunday here in Phoenix. It's pretty, this child is 11 and a half years old and she's part of this professional tap group. It's pretty amazing to see.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? There we go. We're going to move on. Donna, something new? Quick.
My hand.
Donna? No. Okay. We're gonna go forward. I don't see anything else. Fine. So today, Erev Shavuot, we got to do a little something, and we're also starting the 4th book of the Torah, Bamidbar. Okay. So I just thought we'd run through a few basic stuff. Okay, folks, you have to raise your hand on this. What do we call the Jewish Bible? What names does it have? Do I see electronic hands? Do I see electronic hands? Okay, Donna.
Is it the Mishnah, the Talmud, the
Wait, okay. No, it is not that. No, it is not Mishnah. Donna Shapiro.
Sorry.
Tanakh.
No.
Tanakh.
Tanakh. Okay,
Tanakh.
so one name for the Hebrew Bible is Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, acronym Tanakh. Yes. What else? What are the other names that we sometimes use for the same text? Anything else?
Chumash.
Okay, I see
That's
Steve.
In English, in all of the older versions, it was called the Holy Scriptures.
Holy Scripture. Yeah, and I'm going to tack on to that Holy Scripture and from the Christian perspective, Old Testament. Yeah. Okay. Cindy.
5 books of Moses.
Well, that wouldn't be for Bible. 5 books of Moses would be. We'll get to that absolutely. So what do we have here? Bible, Old Testament, Tanakh, Hebrew Scriptures. There are a couple of other ways to refer to it. Anyone else have any other ways to refer to that text? Any other ways? Donna?
Sacred writings.
Yeah, but that's not a unique name. One is
Torah.
written
Torah.
law. written law as contrasted to the oral law. Written law, the Bible, Tanakh, yes. Okay, I see Howard.
The Old Testament.
Yeah, that is from the Christian perspective. I have two more names. Okay, Abby.
What, Torah?
No, Torah
It's not-
refers to the first 5 books.
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about.
No,
Those five-
Bible, the
Oh, the whole thing. Okay. got it.
whole thing. Yeah, as we
Oh, for-
you say.
Okay, then the Old Testament.
Okay, okay.
We already
so
did that. Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. I have nothing to add.
We have one that is with letters LXX. Is that a hint? LXX.
Septuagint.
The Septuagint. That is correct. Thank you. The Septuagint, the LXX, Septuagint. Yes, that is it's called the translation of the 70, Septuagint, the 70, because of a tradition that 70 people were situated in separate rooms and they came up with absolutely identical translations of the Tanakh. That's the story. So that is the Greek version, and it is a really important version. Abby?
That's what I was going to say. I look at it, it was the Greek version because it's not exactly the same as the one we're reading now.
Actually, a lot of these things are not exactly the same. And yes, you are correct. And sometimes the Septuagint is persuasively more accurate, probably, than the Hebrew transmitted text, but not going to go into that. And the last thing is, what is the name for the authorized text? Donna Shapiro.
The Masoretic text.
The Masoretic text, the Masoretes, 7th to 10th century. I could also throw in, just because we're being ecumenical, which is a word I cannot spell, ecumenical today, the Vulgate. What is the Vulgate? Donna, okay.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I'm going to say.
Donna Shapiro. Oh, sorry.
It's the Catholic translation of the Bible. And they're not supposed to.
Did you say Latin?
Catholic.
I thought you said Latin.
Well, that too. That's the one the Catholics use.
Yeah, it is the mainstream version of the Hebrew scriptures, Tanakh, whatever. And it is the Vulgate is there. That is a Latin translation, apparently from the Hebrew. I don't want to get into too deep because I am perilously close to a vast area of ignorance. So the Vulgate, apparently 4th century, which is then preceding the Masoretic. The Vulgate, Latin, about 3 centuries before the Masoretic, and the Vulgate, a translation from the Hebrew into Latin. Then there is another translation, and you talk about which is correct and which is not. Any thoughts, any knowledge? Another translation of the Bible, another version of the Bible.
I can't remember the name. It's the one that they leave in all the hotels. What's it called? Gideon's Bible.
The Hilton version.
No, Gideon's Bible. Is it Gideon?
No, okay, no. Yeah, they do leave those things. By the way, they're leaving them less and less now, more.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes they leave Qurans as well. Now, Samaritan. Does that strike a bell? Samaritan.
The woman at the well.
There was a hospital next door to the Hebrew College in Cincinnati. It was the Good Samaritan Hospital, and we used to call it Good Sam. Oh, I'm not feeling well. I'm away from my mother. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go to Good Sam. And then after going to Good Sam, we would go over and get Skyline chili, and that is the best medicine one could possibly have. Okay. So Tamara, you can do this so much better, faster than I. Tell me about the Samaritan.
Well, the Samaritan Torah, they actually only have the Torah,
Okay.
which is virtually identical to our Torah, but with some crucial changes where we think of Jerusalem as a place where God places God's name and a unique shrine. They have Mount Gerizim. And so to this very day, they worship on Mount Gerizim because their Torah, their version of our Torah specifies that. And they believe that was the original intention of the Torah.
So that you find, for example, in the book of Deuteronomy, it never says Jerusalem, right? It says the place where I choose to call my name, stuff like that. And so the opening is there. And over the past several thousand years, there have been debates back and forth as to whether the Samaritans are Jewish or not. And they sometimes had pitched battles because when people disagree, they sometimes hit on each other.
Mount Gerizim is where Nablus is today. It's in that part of the territories or northern, however you call it, in Israel. So and it was important in the early days during the divided kingdoms, and it was a major location of worship in what was then Israel, and the Samaritans claimed to be the original Israel. They don't believe that the 10 tribes were lost. They believe that they are the remnants of the 10 lost tribes.
That's fascinating stuff, right? I mean, the world is interesting. Any other comment on this? We're going forward. I thought I saw Susie. Did you have your hand up? Susie?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell everyone, I was born in the Good Samaritan Hospital,
Where?
downtown LA.
In LA. Okay, I'm not aware. Okay, very good. So you're a good Samaritan baby.
But
Oh.
I want to add one more thing. The word Samaritan, over the years, I've heard it as an adjective. You're really a good Samaritan. Can it be used that way?
You certainly can use it that way. That's a New Testament story about the Good Samaritan, someone who does a good favor. We're not going to go into it, but the Good Samaritan is a good person who reaches out and does something nice for another person, like Abby inviting Sharon to come to join our group today. That's that kind of thing. Yeah, okay. Now, the Samaritan version comes from the Second Temple period. Okay, now let's go back, narrow down. The Samaritan text is only of the Torah. So let's talk about Torah. What does the word Torah, what's the root for the word Torah? Where does it come from? Torah, we say Torah, 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 Tzivan Lanu Moshe. That's a Chevra song from when I was 6. Okay. What's the root meaning of the word Torah? We are students of Torah. What is the root meaning of Torah? I see Donna Shapiro. Okay, Donna Shapiro.
Got like guidance, teaching.
Okay, teaching. The same word is used for, the root is Yud Resh Hey, and it's meant, I can do this without moving. It's meant to imply shooting or directing an arrow. You yara an arrow. The Donna Shapiro, what is the Hebrew word for teacher?
Moreh or morah.
Moreh, same root as Torah. Moreh, morah, teacher, Torah, yara, intentional teaching. Terrific. What are some other names for the Torah besides the Samaritan one? What are some of the other names for the Torah?
Have my hand up.
Okay,
law.
I know this. Come on.
I have my hand up.
Okay, what?
Law.
Okay, we can refer to it as law. What else can we refer to Torah as? What are its other names? What are its other's name? Mara, you're not even, you haven't waved your hand once today, and I miss you. Okay, now, okay. Donna Shapiro.
The 5 books of Moses, the
5 books of Moses. We say it in Hebrew. What do we call it? 5 books?
Chumash.
The Chumash. So the Chumash, by the way, is not only an Indian tribe with a casino in California. And when I pass by that sign, I say, how nice that the Jewish people plays 5-card stud at that casino, and that's a Jewish thing. I think they say Chumash or something. They don't know to say Chumash. Okay. Yes. So we have the Chumash, we have the Pentateuch, we have Torah, and we have the 5 books. What are they in proper order? Who wants to name the 5 books of the Torah? Donna, put your hand down. Who wants to name the 5 books of the Torah? All right, give me the first book.
Genesis.
Genesis.
Next one.
Exodus.
Next one.
Leviticus.
Next one.
Numbers.
Next one.
Deuteronomy.
So why wouldn't you give me the good feeling of saying the 5 at the same? Thank you. You're
If you
just
didn't
Couldn't
call
get my
on me.
hand up fast enough.
okay. You're just being tough on me. Someone want to recite the names of the Pentateuch, Chumash, Torah in Hebrew, in order. Okay, Steve, are you up for this?
Let's see, Bereshit, Shemot. Let's see, I don't remember Leviticus. Bamidbar, Devarim, and I gotta think of what Leviticus is.
You got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2.
Vayikra.
Woo! Okay. All right. There we go.
Good job.
And the names, we're not going to go back over it. Bereshit is the very first word, Bereshit bara. It's called Genesis. Well, that's what it talks about. The second book, Shemot, because it begins with Elah Shemot. These are the names, but it's called Exodus because what the second book of the Torah is overwhelmingly about is Exodus. Vayikra, Leviticus, Vayikra beginning again, and he called Leviticus all the laws of the priesthood. Bamidbar, the one we start today, Bamidbar. And God spoke to the people were in the wilderness, in the desert. But why is it called Numbers? Because our Sedra begins the book of Numbers with a census. So it's a census, and they call it the book of Numbers. And then the last one, Devarim. The Hebrew begins early, Elah Devarim. These are however we translate Devarim. It's a kind of a tough thing. These are the matters, these are the teachings, Elah Devarim. But it's also called Deuteronomy, which is a Greek word. What does Deuteronomy mean? Deuteronomy.
Repetition?
Pardon?
Repetition?
No, please, I want to, wait, okay, Natalie? You're muted, Natalie. Natalie, muted. Okay.
I think it's called the second law, and it's preparing us to enter the promised land.
That's super. And Deuteronomos is repetition of the law. Sometimes in Hebrew, Deuteronomy is referred to as Mishnah Torah too. It's a repeat of the Torah. It's like a summation. So that brings us through the preparation for today and getting ready for midnight when the heavens open up. And now, Bamidbar. Bamidbar. First words in the 4th book. Would someone like to tell me what a desert is?
Honestly.
What is a desert? By the way, I hear the word used. It's interesting and sad. There are food deserts in many of our cities. Areas called food deserts. Merle.
Excuse me. It's desert's wilderness.
Desert wilderness. Okay. Steve, take some water, Merle. Steve.
I'm getting there.
Technically, a desert is determined by being below a certain fraction of an inch of rain in the course of a year.
I would like to show you that I have indeed prepared for today as I read. Most experts agree that a desert is an area of land that receives no more than 10 inches of precipitation a year. Actually, it gives it in 25 centimeters. I didn't know what that meant, so I had to go look it up, and that's 10 inches. Okay, so what can change a desert into a fertile area?
Water.
Water is extremely important.
Yay.
Irrigation. I remember the very, very first trip we made to Israel. Very first trip. And 1973. We were at the Dead Sea and shown a kibbutz that was raising pickles right alongside the Dead Sea. And I, being not a farmer, how do you raise pickles next to a body of water that is seriously salty? First of all, the guide said, they're kosher dills. It works. But that was really not the answer. But irrigation, they bring water down. And we ate pickles. Never will forget that. We ate pickles off the vine at the edge of the Dead Sea. And I became convinced that irrigation works. Merle.
So
Okay.
being that Phoenix is or was more desert when we moved here than it is now, there are still certain parts of older areas of Phoenix that have irrigation. Your lawns are sunken, and you get a notification from the city or the county or somebody every week as to when your lawns will be irrigated. And you have to turn on these valves so that the irrigation will come through. It's becoming less and less, but now that there's a severe water problem here in Arizona, who knows what will happen next.
Get your dirty little hands off of the water coming to California. Let us be very clear about that.
We go to the lake every week and take a shower there. That's Indian reservation land.
Okay, all right.
Rabbi, may I say something about the water?
Okay, Donna, what would you like to say?
We were studying about Miriam, and they sang the song of Moses, and they used to say that wherever Miriam went, there was a well and there was water, and the women were singing.
Okay, yep, thank you for that. And that is true. And that well, let's see, Kevin Cohn wants us to be happy. Los Angeles had 5 inches of rainfall last year. That's not a happy note, right? Kevin,
No.
Thank you. We are a desert. Okay, now.
It's gonna get better.
Next, the book is called the Book of Numbers. It is a book that begins with a census. Why was there a census? Second year in the desert, why was there a census? Why did Moses do, Abby?
I think it was for war, for men to know how many young men were available for fighting.
Yes. Now, I want to ask you, because again, we are doing basic stuff here today. It's fun. What is the Jewish attitude about counting people? Do I see a hand? I see Effie. Okay, Effie?
You don't count people. I know when I go to Chabad, they don't count them. they have some other roost of the way they count. And I can't remember what it is, but they.
I happen to know what it is. I bet you're surprised. Okay.
No.
First of all, there are some within the traditional community who will count not one, not two, not three, usually in Yiddish. And they do that not one, not two, not three, not four, Yiddish. But in Orthodox shuls, right before they begin a davening, you have to validate a quorum. It's just like anything else in a meeting that requires a quorum. You have to have a quorum. How can you check if you have a quorum if you cannot count people? And Effie is correct. There is a verse from Psalms 28:9. You can check me on this. That verse in Hebrew has 10 words. So the person responsible for counting to see if there is a minyan recites the psalm, first word, second word. If he completes the psalm, there's a minyan. Okay, so remember that always.
Okay.
How was Natalie Shapiro?
I think a lot of this had to do with community. It's so important to have all these numbers, all these people, that you have a community to be assured that you know about the presence of God, that was important.
I think that's very strong and very real. The notion that you need a community of a predetermined size, by the way, drove Jewish settlement out west and in the south. And there was a family known as the Sassoon family, came from, I think, Iraq, if my brain is
right.
Okay, holding together. They sent a Sassoon young person. Geez, I'm blanking whether it was India or China because they did both. And the father Sassoon sent with his son 9 other male Jews. He didn't want to send his son into an area where a minyan, you said community, where a minyan is not ready. To me, that's one of the great, great stories of Jewish settlement. Dad said to the son, go, we have a major banking enterprise, you'll open up a big branch here, but you can't go to a country where there's no minyan, so I'm going to send the minyan with you. And I love that. I think that is great. How was the Jewish people counted in the book of Exodus?
Men.
It's like the Bible contest. How was the Jewish people counted in the book of Exodus?
By tribes.
No, but that wasn't the methodology. Donna Shapiro?
I think it was the men who were above a certain age.
But how did they count them? Steve Miller.
I think they each deposited a coin.
Yes, they deposited a half shekel. And they collected the half shekels and put them all together, and that represented the census. So there was an avoidance. What happened with King David? Anyone know? There is a wonderful story about King David and a census. King David, in violation of Jewish tradition, is recorded as having undertaken a census, and when he did it, a horrible plague destroyed much of the people.
Oh my goodness.
An indication from God, you don't do census. Also, no one really talks about this very much. If you do a census and then a lot of people get killed, your census isn't valid anyway. So, but they don't talk about that in the rabbinic tradition. Now, last comment about census. Do you realize the importance of census today, a census is an occasion for power and danger. There's a lot to be threatened. Okay, please. I see Fern. Hi, Fern. Haven't seen you in a
Hi
little
there.
bit. Hi.
Why is there a prohibition against census, against counting? What's the reason for it? What's the logic?
It probably isn't logic. They refer to a promise by God to Abraham that I'll make your people as uncountable as the sands of the sea. And when you attempt to count them, you are countervening what God said there. But I have to share with you, I don't believe that's the origin of it. I mean, that may be a text-based reason. But there was a fear of being identified and open to evil spirits and evil presences. And I suspect if you go back far enough, Fern, that's where it's going to end up. That if you enumerate and have people individually represented, you make them vulnerable to attack by evil presences. Okay? So, I mean, I don't know. Can anyone offer a better reason? It's the one I hold on
I
to.
agree, Rabbi. May I say something? I have my hand up.
Only
They
if
have,
you're dealing with this.
yes, it is. It is.
Okay,
About
please.
counting. Every time I get one in the mail, I tear it up. They
Okay.
have the audacity to ask, well, are you straight? Are you gay? Are you white? Are you black? Or what color your skin is? What
Okay.
difference does it make? And
Okay,
then they
we
should
get
do
that. We got it. Now, anyone else have an origin story for an avoidance of census? I'm going to stick with. I'm going to stick with becoming vulnerable by becoming known. And you know that Jews play this game all the time. God forbid someone is critically ill, seriously ill. Fern, they'll change the name. It just like to confuse the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death. So this is part of a tradition. Okay, now that we have the brief introduction to the book of Numbers, we're going to go to chapter 4, verses 15 through 20. The Plout, page 911, and the Women of Reformed Judaism, 807. New Plout, 911, Women of Reformed Judaism, 807. I have 15 to 20, verses 15 to 20 to be read on page 911. Do I have a volunteer to read? My memory is so superb. Verses 15 to 20. Do I have?
I'll read.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Who's reading?
Merle, what do you have?
I'll read.
Merle?
Just offering to read.
Who is? I'm sorry.
I will.
Natalie.
Natalie. Okay, Natalie. I didn't see the hand. I'm sorry.
That's okay, sure.
I plead blindness. Okay. Go ahead. Please read.
When Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sacred objects and all the furnishings of the sacred objects at the breaking of camp, only then shall the Kohathites come and lift them, so that they do not come in contact with the sacred objects and die. These things in the tent of meeting shall be porterage of the Kohathites. Go on.
Please, yes.
Responsibility shall rest with Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest of lighting the oil, the aromatic incense, the regular meal offering, and the anointing oil. Responsibility for the whole tabernacle and for everything consecrated that is in it or in its vessels.
Great. And I want one more reader to close it out. One more reader. Reader. Okay, I see Doris, please. 17. I don't hear you, Doris. You're muted.
Am I okay? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, do not let the group of Kohathites clan be cut off from the Levites. Do this with them, that they may live and not die when they approach the most sacred objects. Let Aaron and his sons go in and assign each of them to his duties and to his porterage. But let not the Kohathites go inside and witness the dismantling of the sanctuary, lest they die.
I am always intrigued by that last sentence. Anyone want to comment on it? That last sentence to me says an awful lot about what people understand the holy to be. Do we have some comment on that last sentence?
I don't know, I think.
Please, go ahead.
What I think is that if you actually, the human sees it, it loses its majesty and its holiness. There's something not for human sight. This is way above and beyond.
Do you have a little bit of a sense of the Wizard of Oz? I mean, do you remember? I got some smiles. The rest of you highly sophisticated people don't do Wizard of Oz, but I see Fern, Ray, and Donna. Fern.
I'm just thinking that this must have something to do with why Orthodox rabbis, or certain of them, don't go inside to do the funerals. That I attended a funeral where the rabbis stood outside behind the entire group. And then when they went to the graveside, the whole group of men formed a circle around them so that they were protected and covered. I'm assuming there's some connection, but.
Okay, the connection there is the rabbi was, excuse me, probably a Kohen. And a Kohen is not allowed to be in proximity to a dead body or to go to a cemetery altogether. And that's a very strict observance, but it doesn't directly have to do with this. But yeah, there is that. Can I just talk to you privately as a group and just forget that we talk about it? Lisa and I, please, I don't want to get emails about this, are talking about cremation. Stop the noise. Okay, so we're talking about cremation. Our grandson, who is the son of a Kohen, said with a smile, I'll never be able to go into a house where that urn is. And he said further, by the way, if that urn gets knocked over and you're lying all over the ground, people are going to come in and sweep it up. But according to Jewish law, he's telling me, thank you, according to Jewish law, I can never enter that house again because it will never be cleared of your dirty ashes. That's why you have grandchildren. Okay, Ray.
Thank you. I was struck by that lest you die. Certainly, yes, absolutely in the Wizard of Oz way that you invoked, but also that precise, at least in English translation wording. Hebrew speakers here can clarify if this is also true in Hebrew. I was instantly reminded of the second chapter of Genesis, and this is chapter 2, verse 3, with Eve speaking to the serpent about the tree in the middle of the garden, and freely, not necessarily accurately, quoting God, saying, "You shall not eat of it or touch it, lest you die." And so, at least in English, it's precisely the same words and precisely the same syntax, that kind of punctuation at the end, like let's not hear any lip out of you because I'm going to invoke the death thing and that trumps everything, and microphone drop. So I'm struck by the rhetorical force and the similarity in these two episodes.
I think that's great. I would not have brought that forward. I think that's great. It makes the tree a sacred object. Okay? And you don't go near it and you don't touch it. Okay, fine. I see Kevin.
Hi. Okay, so the lest they die part, it makes me think of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they open the ark and they see it, and everyone dies that sees it. However, when you go to like paragraph 1 of Numbers, like at the beginning,
yes,
Hashem is saying to Moses, you have to go out and do everything. You have to take the census, as opposed to he does it. So he's instructing Moses to do this. So when lest you die, is that the congregation killing everyone, or they die by witnessing the dismantling like alone? So I would tend to think that it's kind of a question. If they get killed by
I can even answer that question, which is a surprise. The rabbis declare that lest you die would be by the hand of God. Okay? So that would be like the Hebrew word karet, which often means die. Yeah. Donna is going, yep. Died by the hand of God. Now, the deal here in Numbers is that the various family groupings within the tribe of Levi are getting their jobs. And Kohat was one of the cousin Levites. His people are given the responsibility to disassemble and assemble. To carry. And they cannot see the most sacred place lying on the ground in little piles. When I hear lest that die, I am moved to think about lest they have a spiritual crisis. This glorious thing where God comes in and the whole thing, and Moses it looks like leftovers from Home Depot. This would be devastating. It is part of the reason, Kevin, why in many religious traditions there are secrets and hidden things.
So what I'm saying is, if God knows everything and can do everything, he could have just sat there with Moses and written the census right there and said, okay, just write everything down. I know how many people there are. Here's all the people. And, he could write it down. Instead, he said, you go out and you do the work that I instruct you to do. And, lest they die would be an instruction, or could be an instruction.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. And I would also say, hard to be a synagogue president. Yes. Thank you, Fern. I get that note, and it's totally correct. You see the sausage as it is being made. Yes. I'm not going to go into stories about being the rabbi also and seeing the sausage made. And Kevin, you're right. But nevertheless, God instructs us to do. And there's a whole rationale in talking about the sacrifices, why does God need the sacrifices? And one of the answers is God needs the sacrifices less than we need to bring them. Does that make sense to you? That the obligation, does God really care whether we wrap leather on every morning except Shabbos? Or do we need the doing? Does it really matter to God whether we eat cheeseburgers or not? By the way, I hope not. But it should matter to us. And doing the census is a job for us as part of fulfilling a divine command. I'm going to stop with that. I have Merle, I have Donna across the top of my screen.
So I'm thinking about what your grandson said.
Yes, my sweetheart. Yes.
Well, I'm thinking about it for a specific reason. When my mother died, and supposedly I'm a Kohen through my biological father, I was criticized at her funeral for being there because I was a Kohen. And one of the many rabbis at the funeral, it was sort of like a mini CCAR convention. This woman was told, but if you are a Kohen and you inherited that title, then yes, you can be at the funeral or at the cemetery of a relative or whoever. So I guess I'm confused, because is that true or not? And does that give me an excuse when I was temple president, when I was URJ regional president, when my involvement with the CCAR now, does that give me an excuse not to have to go to funerals?
Yes.
Who said that?
Okay, Donna Shapiro had a very quick answer. That's yes. First of all, you are a
Bot, go to a wedding.
You are a Bat Kohen.
Right.
And that is a slightly, I got to be careful, I'm going to be murdered here. That's a slightly lower sacred category than being a male Kohen direct line. So, yeah.
Okay.
There are a number of Orthodox commentators who will comment that a Bat Kohen should be obligated in this the way a male Kohen is. So there is some flex. Reform Judaism does not at all observe the separation of Kohen Levi Yisrael. And if my grandson had only been raised in a pure Reform home, he would not have thought of avoiding my dust when he would come in to the house. We have to stop because here we are. Shavuot is tonight. I want to do Kaddish, and I thank you for today.
Thank you.
People ask, oh, you got so many things. Today, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to go teach for Wilshire Boulevard 3 hours of conversion class. And this evening, I'm participating in the Shavuot observance. And what's going to be the best part? I love teaching the conversion classes. There's nobody like you. There is nobody like you. Thank you very, very much. We're going to shift to getting ready for Kaddish. And don't forget, there is Yisker. Check with the bulletin. Those who have passed away during the past month include Jessica Bayer, David Burstein, Edward Cohn, Robert Bob Feldman, Ronald Fishman, Ashley Jaffe, Frank Rosenblum, Sylvia Schlosser, Myron Mike Sholem, Ralph Silberman, Sonia Wallen, Joanne Wolf, Bert Zweig. Yahrzeits that have occurred during the past week: Dale Alcove, Estelle Alt, Albert Altman, Randy Bank. Max Block, Jacob Brown, Charles Kohler, Edwin Court, Sadie Crystal, Mary Edelstein, Gloria Farkas, Pearl Feller, Marcia Finkel, Etta Fisher, Jerry Fishman, Jennifer Friedman Chalk, Louis Garr, Lena Gilbert, Michelle Joy Gomberg, Willis Goodman, Helen Grubbard, Evelyn Green, Charles Greenwald, Harold Gross, Ann Grossman, Herbert Haas, Sidney Hoffman, Rose Katzenhorn, Bruce Hubbard, Sarah Eisenberg, Clarence Jacobson, Donald Jacobson, Rose Jaffe, Ernest Kerr, Jack Kirschenbaum, Norton Lansing, Brett Lawrence, Bell Lerman, Sam Levin, Harry Levine, Dave Lewis, Elaine Rosenkrantz Lieberman, Ann Lubin, Samuel Lubliner, David Madnick, Henrietta Maltzman, Shirley Minter, Louis Moldo, Ariel Moore, Evelyn Sachs Morgan, Catherine Orange, Netta Oringle, Doris Orlikoff, Seal Ostro, Joan Pansky, Wilma Pascal, Earl Pash, Anthony Perlman, Toby Rossman, Robert Ryan, Julie Rose Ralston, Albert Rosenblatt, Mike Ruby, Rose Ruderman, Jerome Saperstein, Dr. Victor Schiller, Gustav Schiller, Lily Schiller, Rose Schwartz, Samuel Shapiro, Lloyd Shapoff, Leslie Scherer, Leslie Shohan, Clara Siegel, Nancy Siegel, Alfred Silver, Harry Silver, Ralph Skluth, Henry Sloan, Alter Simpson, Stan Cashman, Saul Tivoli, Lou Wasserman, Harold Weisfeld, Philip White, Stuart Wine, Lloyd Winthrop, Suzanne Wolf, Enrica Yu, Dorothy Zinberg. I apologize if I have mispronounced the names of a loved one. If I have omitted a name, please speak their names aloud now or speak them in your hearts. We mention as well, hold in our hearts, the names of all of those who died in defense of the United States, those who died in defense of the state of Israel, those who died through acts of horror and war, and those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We join together in Kaddish. Yisgadal, Yisgadash, Shmei Rabbah, B'alma Dibra Rite, B'amlich Al-Shtei, B'chayechon U'yomechon, U'v'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'zman Kariv, Yimru Amen. Yeshmei Rabbah, V'alom V'almei Almaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Shah, Richu, Le'ela, Mikol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbachata, Nechemata, Da'amitat B'alma,
Yimru. Amen.
Hey, Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh Shalom, V'Yomad. Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol
Yisrael.
Amen. God who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts. Make peace in our homes. Make peace in the household of Israel. Make peace among all the families and nations of earth. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Chag Sameach.
Shalom.
Amen.
Pay attention. Midnight to the heavens.
To the heavens, midnight.
See you there.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks, everyone.
Be safe. Love you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Merle. Bye,
Chag Sameach.
Susie. Bye, Susie.
Hello, Susie.
Hi,
Sweet
Hello,
everybody.
Barbara.
Shabbat Shalom. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Absolutely beautiful.
You too.
May God
Thank you,
bless us.
Merle.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If more women sing, we won't have a drought anymore. We'll get some dew and some water from heaven, from the angels. I believe it. Miriam did it. She sang the song of Moses, and wherever she went, there was a water well with her, and there was water. Sing, ladies, sing. I gotta go. See you at midnight with the angels. Bye.